My name's Tim Stringer and I'm the founder of Technically Simple. And today I'm going to show you how to use your Mac more efficiently using one of my favorite apps, which is Alfred. There is a free version of Alfred, but in order to apply what you're learning today, you'll need the Power Pack. And you can purchase that at alfredapp.com. And the current price is £15, which is roughly about $25 US. Generally speaking, it's much faster to use the keyboard than a mouse or a trackpad to perform actions on your Mac. And if there's certain activities that you perform regularly throughout the day, it makes sense to either learn the keyboard shortcut or to create one that invokes that action. So we're going to look at how Alfred can be used to create shortcuts or hotkeys for all kinds of things, including launching apps, opening folders, accessing system commands, opening websites, and performing web searches. Now, the challenges that come up around keyboard shortcuts, there are a couple of key ones. First of all, sometimes the shortcuts you create conflict with the shortcuts that are built into the application you're using, and that can cause some problems. And secondly, it can be a challenge to remember the keyboard combinations that you're using. So the key to remembering the keyboard combinations, first of all, is to use standard conventions. So to use the same sort of keyboard combination for launching one app that you would use to launch another app. And before we get into what those conventions might be, let's just do a quick review of the modifier keys on the Mac keyboard. So this is a US keyboard we're looking at. Some of these locations of keys might be a little bit different if you're using a non-US keyboard. But generally speaking, there's a control key in the lower left, and that's represented by a caret symbol. And then this is what the option symbol looks like, and there's typically two option keys on a keyboard, one to the left of the spacebar, one to the right. And similarly, there's typically two command keys, one to the left and one to the right. And the shift key you probably know well, that's just above the other row of modifier keys. So for example, you could use Control-Shift and the letter to launch an application. So Control-Shift-T, for example, could be set up to launch TextEdit. To open up a folder, I recommend using Control-Option, and in this example, D to open up the Downloads folder. To perform system commands, using Control-Option-Command, and in this example, the Delete key to empty the trash. If there are websites that you use very frequently, you could use Option-Shift, and then in this example, T to open up the Technically Simple website. And lastly, Control-Option-Command could be used to search a website such as Wikipedia. And I'll show you in a moment how these all work. A few other useful shortcuts or hotkeys that we can define in Alfred. We can set up double tapping on the Option key to open up the desktop folder, double tapping on the Control key to open up the Documents folder, and then double tapping on the Command key to view the clipboard contents. So I'll show you all of this in action, and then I'll take you through the process of creating these hotkeys or shortcut keys for yourself. It's actually very simple. So first of all, let's launch a few applications. So if I hold down Control, Shift, and T, that's going to bring up TextEdit. Control, Shift, and S launches Safari. And another one I use frequently is Control, Shift, F, which brings up a tool called Fuse Meeting, which is what I use for my online meetings. Now at this point, I can switch back to any app that I've launched already using the same shortcut keys. So if I press Control, Shift, T again, that's just going to bring TextEdit to the forefront. And Control, Shift, S will bring Safari up. For now, we're just going to quit these applications, and then we'll move on to look at how to open folders. And once this is all set up, it's just as easy to open up folders that you use frequently. So if I hold down Control-Option-D, that opens up my Downloads folder. Double tapping on the Option key will open up the desktop, and double tapping on Control will open up my Documents folder. And I even have a shortcut set up so I can use Alfred to empty the trash. So here's a file on my desktop I want to get rid of. So first of all, I'll press Command-Delete to move it to the trash. That's a standard shortcut key in Finder. And then if I do Control-Option-Command and press the Delete key, you'll notice that the trash is emptied. Next, I'll show you how you can use Alfred to easily access websites that you use frequently. So if I hold down Option-Shift-T as an example, that'll bring up my technically simple website. If I hold down Option-Shift-L, that'll take me into LinkedIn. And if I hold down Option-Shift-W, that'll take me to the weather forecast for Vancouver. It's quite a nice spring day here today. So let's say I'm looking at this web page and I decide I want to read more about Vancouver. So I can select that word Vancouver. Then I hold down Control-Option-Command-W to invoke Wikipedia. And a new tab opens in Safari, and then I'm looking at some information about Vancouver. And similarly, I could be in, let's say, an application like Notes, and I've got a note that Bob recommends watching The Life of Pi. So I could select those words, Life of Pi, and this time I'm going to press Control-Option-Command-I, and you'll see I'm taken right into the IMDb website with a search performed for Life of Pi. So this can be a very fast way to search around the internet. So one last example, if I selected Life of Pi, I could press Control-Option-Command-G, and now I'm doing a Google search from the Life of Pi. All of this is possible using a feature called Workflows. It's built into Alfred. And I'll show you how everything works behind the scene. We'll create a few more keyboard shortcuts in the process. So first of all, I'm going to invoke Alfred by pressing Option and Spacebar. Now I could press the gear icon to go into Alfred settings, or I could also press Command, which is even faster. Now we're already in the Workflows tab, and you'll notice over on the left is a list of workflows. And the top 5 are ones that I've created, and the bottom 2 are some ones that I've downloaded from the internet. And I use the convention of putting a square bracket in front of the name of my own workflows so it separates it from the ones that I've downloaded. It keeps them nicely grouped together. So I could have actually created a single workflow for each application that I want and each folder that I want to open, but I find it's more convenient to group these in one place. So if I click on Hotkeys apps, you'll see these are the 3 hotkeys we were looking at earlier: to launch Fuse, Safari, and TextEdit. Now let's create one more, and there's a program called Daylight that I use quite frequently. So what I'm going to do first of all is click on the plus, and I'm going to create a trigger, which is a hotkey in this case. And I'm going to assign a hotkey of Control, Shift, and D for Daylight. And then I'll say Save. Now I want to add an actual action, like what actually happens when that hotkey is pressed. And in this case, I want to launch an app or open a file. So I'm going to choose Launch Apps and Files. And I'll use my shortcut key to get to the Applications folder. So I'll say Control-Option-A, and that'll bring up the Applications folder. Then it's just a matter of dropping the Daylight application in here and clicking Save. Now we're not quite done now, because you'll notice there's no connection between the hotkey and the application itself. So all I need to do is draw a line by dragging between the hotkey and the actual application. So now if I press Control-Shift-D, you'll notice the Daylight app launches and we're taken into Daylight. And there we go. And again, if I hit Daylight, if I put it into the background, I could easily get back to it again by pressing Control-Shift and D, and I'd be back in Daylight. Next, I'll show you how to create a hotkey to a folder on your Mac. So I'm first going to click on the Hotkeys folder workflow, and you'll see I have some defined already. So the ones we looked at earlier, Desktop, is invoked by double tapping on the Option key. Documents is invoked by double tapping on the Control key. And then Control-Option-D is for downloads, and Control-Option-A is for applications. So let's say I want to have a shortcut to open up my movies files. So I could click on the plus. I'll choose a hotkey trigger, and I'm going to call this one Control-Option-M for movies. Click Save. And just before I'll go back to the plus menu, I'll choose Launch Apps and Files from the Actions menu. And I'll go into Finder, and I've already got the user folder up, so it's just a matter of dropping movies in there. And then an important last step is to connect these two with a line by dragging. And now when I do Control-Option-M, I'll be taken right into my movies folder. And next we'll look at how to create a search hotkey. And it's basically the same procedure, but just a little bit different. So we're going to go into the hotkey search workflow. And you'll notice these are the three that we've looked at already. There's a hotkey to search IMDb, one to search Google, and one for Wikipedia. And we're going to add a fourth one, which is to search Google Maps. So I'll click the plus key. I'm going to choose a hotkey trigger, and I'll make that Control Option Command M for Maps. And one thing that's a little different this time is I need to pass along some information to Google Maps. I'm specifically going to choose what's called an argument of the selection in OS X. So that's whatever text is selected in OS X will be passed on to Google Maps. I could have also chosen the contents of the clipboard or even just entered some text into Alfred. So I'll choose selection in OS X, click Save. Now the action in this case is to perform one of Alfred's default web searches. And specifically I want to search Google Maps. And then I'll click Save and create a line between these two. Okay, so let's see this in action. I'm going to press Control-Shift-S to bring up Safari. And I have an address here that I want to see in Google Maps. This happens to be the City Hall here in Vancouver. So I'm going to select that text containing the address. Then it's just a simple matter of pressing Control, Option, Command, and M. And I'm brought into Google Maps and it shows that location right in Google Maps. Simple as that. And moving along, we'll look at how to create system hotkeys. So if I click on the hotkeys system workflow, you'll notice I've got two created already, one to empty the trash that we looked at earlier, and another one to lock the computer. So let's create a third one. I'll go into triggers again, choose hotkey. Let's say this is something to sleep the computer. And I'm going to choose Control, Option, Command. Then I'll just use the dash sign for this one. Okay, and click Save. And then it's just a matter of adding an action, which in this case is a system command. And choosing Sleep as the action, clicking Save, and creating a line between those two. So the next time I press Control, Option, Command, and then the dash, it's going to put my computer to sleep. Now we'll look at how to create a hotkey that will take you to a specific website. So I'll click on Hotkeys Websites, and you'll see the one I've got defined already, one for Facebook, one for LinkedIn, Technically Simple, and the Weather Network. So I'm going to add one more. Let's say I'm a big movie fan and I want a hotkey to go to the Rotten Tomatoes website. So first of all, I'm going to add a hotkey just as before, triggers hotkey. We'll make this one Option-Shift-R for Rotten Tomatoes. Click Save. Now I'll actually go into Safari with Control-Shift-S and we'll browse to the Rotten Tomatoes website. And I'll select that, press Command-C to copy, then go back into Alfred and I'll add the action. This time it's going to be to open a URL. Then I'll press Command-V to paste in the action. And I could have this open in a different browser, and this might be useful in some cases if you want to open specific sites in Chrome or Safari or something like that. But I'm just going to keep default browser selected. Click Save, and then join the hotkey with the action. So now when I press Option, Shift, and R, it's going to take me into the Rotten Tomatoes website. And lastly, I'll show you how to create a shortcut key which gives you very convenient access to your clipboard history. So to set this one up, we're going to go into Features, click on Clipboard, and you want to make sure that the clipboard history is being saved. So check this box. You can save it for 24 hours, for 7 days, for 1 month, or for 3 months. And then the hotkey here that we're going to set up is to double tap on the Command key. I'm just going to press twice on the Command key quite quickly, and you'll see that gets set up as a double tap. And then all of a sudden we see the clipboard come up, and these are some recent clipboard items. Well, I hope that was useful, and thank you for joining me on this screencast. For more information on Technically Simple, you can visit technicallysimple.com. And I also invite you to follow us on Twitter at Technical Simple. See you next time.